So my name is Wildy Martinez. Um, Many know me as Wildflower or Wildflower Fields. I try to make that my artist name, but Wildy is my actual name. Some people pronounce it as Wildy, but I am Dominican American, and my name is pronounced in Spanish. I was born and raised in New York City. I knew right away since I was 6 that I wanted to be a fashion designer. I was really blessed to know that that's what I wanted to do, because one day I saw shiny dresses twirling in a window display, and I told my mom that I wanted to make dresses. And really lucky that my parents saw that in me and really supported that decision by, encouraging me to draw and buy me supplies. And at the age of 12, I ended up applying to a specialized high school called Fashion Industries. And I got in, and for 4 years of high school, I was doing fashion already and doing shows in New York City. So that led me going into FIT. I still love fashion, so I kept going. And that really led up to almost 20 years working as a fashion designer in New York, in the fashion industry. And I'm sure, as many of you, when 2020 came along, our worlds, turned upside down. Mine did, because I got laid off. Luckily, I one of my freelance jobs that I did for with a friend became my full time job, and that one was a very purposeful job, because we supplied employment to women rescued from sex trafficking. So I always loved using like fashion and art to help women in crisis at that, and doing advocacy for anti-sex trafficking. So it was a very heart emotional work to do, because it was real women and real lives. And we would joke around like, one t-shirt can save a life, because it literally did provide for women in Nepal to have jobs with dignity. Anyway, so I was doing that. However, time was slower. I wasn't going into an office for 12 hours a day. And there was a lot of things happening, and I decided to um, go back into creating art for myself, for therapy, for healing. And I was doing a lot of art about colorism and expressing how that affected me growing up. And this is where my journey of self-embrace really started. um, Questioning things like why, about certain things in my culture that were I grew up listening to, that weren't right. And that led me to really like embracing my African heritage. And I was like, I want to be able to celebrate this part of my life too, that my culture necessarily doesn't really embrace. And I know Lemni is here; she's Dominican, and maybe a few of you have grown up with colorism and kind of the confusion, or just the internal war about who are we, and who we identify as, and the things that perhaps are not celebrated being kind of not played up. So I used to straighten my hair before, and to blend in, and it's like that internal war, especially as women, of fighting to be unique, but then that fear that comes with like, what if we stand out too much. um, Around that time in 2021, I joined Web3, and that's when this conflict, and this insecurity of mine of being comfortable with my own skin, that's when I kind of brought it to the forefront. And that's when I created an art piece called Wildflower 38. I had turned 38 at that time, and it was a fashion illustration with vitiligo on it. And vitiligo is a skin condition that removes melanin. So it's autoimmune, and it removes the melanin from your skin. So I actually was brown, and I lost all my pigmentation. And I actually that journey began when I was 25 years old. So I wasn't born with it. So uh, that led to a lot of emotional distress. Whoever has any skin diversity or diagnosis, it's something that you can control, but you cannot. And because I worked in the industry, I felt that pressure of looking a certain way. So I actually was hiding that I had it for many years. I would put a lot of makeup on my hands. That's where my melanin left first. I would just dress. I would put scarves on. I hid for a good 10 years of my life. And that piece, Wildflower 38, was me telling the world, I'm done hiding. I don't want to hide anymore. And I'm putting it on an artwork and I'm sharing my story of having vitiligo. And that's when everything changed for me because I didn't realize how many people have it too. Obviously, it's definitely more normalized now than it was 10 years ago. Um, I would have conversations on X, Twitter, with moms with kids that had it, and how to navigate through that. And also just women who had other like insecurities or things that brought them shame, come up to me and feel like they could related to my story and they felt seen. And that catapulted, I guess, my journey into celebrating diversity and shining the light on vitiligo. So I add vitiligo to a lot of my art pieces. I open up the dialogue around what it is to enter the journey of self embrace. I call it the art of self embrace, embracing those things as women that we maybe feel like are ugly or are like, not how the standard beauty is, or it doesn't fall in, it doesn't align with what the beauty standards are of today. And how can we disrupt that, especially as women in tech? How can we keep disrupting these norms that are not actually norm? And how can we tell the world that it's full of color, it's full of a uniqueness, and it's full of we're just we have to keep fighting that narrative, especially as women. We're already such a small percentage here in the Web3 community, here in tech, even in the art industry, even in fashion, like especially in fashion. How can we change the narrative so that the young generation doesn't have that pressure that we've grown up with, especially if you are a millennial or older than that, like I grew up in the 90s, just all these standards that were unrealistic. Um, and because I'm still working in fashion. When AI fashion came around, I was like, oh, I need to do this if this is the next thing in fashion. I found it such a serendipitous that a 360 moment happened where I went back into fashion using AI. And I joined, I'm one of the competitors for AI Fashion Week, ended up being one of the finalists. And one of my concerns was the lack of diversity within AI. So if you add, any type of profession, doctor, teacher, it would not be a person of color that would be popping up. So I was like, oh, what if I put like, prompt vitiligo model? I even would put Winnie Harlow, and it just did not know how to generate vitiligo. So I learned how to train my own AI models to have vitiligo, and I'm one of the first designers in AI Fashion Week and finalists to have vitiligo community represented. And this is being seen like in Vogue, and I know there's still a lot of growth to be done. But one of the things that I wanted to encourage everyone that is here and listening is that usually the things that you have that are so different from everyone else, or that you feel like you don't know why you have it, or why me, like why did I get vitiligo, and I wasn't born with this thing, and I'm changing every day, why me? And definitely has has shifted quickly into what for, like what can I use this for? Is it for advocacy? Is it for just sharing my story? And I think it's pretty incredible that the thing that I felt so much shame over, the thing that I felt like was ugly or that I had to hide, is the thing that is being used today to help so many people that are like me. And that brings me so much joy. And it's also my why as to why I create art, why I create even fashion, though it may seem vain, like the fact that I'm the one creating it, and that through that maybe someone can discover my story and my why as to I create, that their lives can be impacted, especially little girls, who maybe look like me, can know that they can also be bold and be out there and create as well and make legacy. And I always say, if it's not done yet, then we're the ones meant to do the change. So if there wasn't vitiligo prompting, then I could do that. Let me figure it out. And that goes to everyone here today. If you see something that needs change, that is not representing your community, representing your culture, then this is definitely the moment to do it, to embark in that journey, however it may look like. And it is really just taking it step by step. So I really thank the Web3 community for, I think, for allowing me to giving me the space, I think, to express myself. I think Web3 is the only community that you can have like 500 hats and put it in one hub. One of the other stories that I wanted to share to encourage anyone here is about the actual power behind storytelling. So not just creating the art, but also sharing the story and being bold. It is maybe scary to jump on here and do a live, or maybe go on Instagram and do a story, or record yourself. But I think it's so important to raise up our voices and actually speak, whether it's writing. And I understand it is a scary thing, especially if you don't like public speaking or you're taking baby steps. But for a little forward movement is better than no forward movement at all. So one little movement you do for that goal to share your story, it is worth it. And one I went on a trip many years ago. I had vitiligo. I was trying so bad to cover it up, but it was in the Caribbean, in my country, Dominican Republic, and I was doing like charity work, helping out kids in the neighborhood and giving them gifts and like chatting with them. And it was like a 3 day event of charity work. And at the end of that event, each little kid would come up and say, "Thank you for this," or "Thank you for that," just thanking the organization for being there. And I remember one little girl went up there and she had said, "I want to thank," she said, she didn't say I want to thank, but she said something along, I can't remember, it's a long time ago, but she said, "I now know that I am beautiful." She had vitiligo. And she said, "And I know that I am beautiful because Miss Wildy is beautiful." And she must have seen that I had vitiligo on my hands. And that moment I knew that how we carry ourselves in midst of sickness, or um, curveballs, and how we carry ourselves do impact the next generation. So you never know who's looking. And I encourage you all to be yourself, embrace all the things that you have, that especially when you're growing up, you're like, "Why do I have this? Why do I have," it's a reason why. And I assure you, someone else has it, or someone else can relate to you. And it is a beautiful thing to add to the art of representation, and to be kind of like a uh, a beacon of light for others to say, you know what, if she can do it or he can do it, I can do it too. And yeah, so I don't know if I should keep talking or anybody has anything to drop on the chat, let me know. Hi, Lemni. Hi, Gabe. And hi, everyone. I want to thank Natanya and Stephanie for doing this incredible event. What a beautiful venue. What an amazing concept. And I'm so proud to be part of being one of the artists of Audacity and being here in this amazing summit. Amazing. There's no questions coming in.
I'm just hopping in to say, since you have the On Cyber open, people can definitely just pop in with questions in the chat. So yeah, if there is any, I'm just saying they might. So since you are on Cyber as well, that's definitely an option. So if there is comments or questions that anybody wants to pose, use the chat box in the space on the left-hand corner. We'll just give that a few minutes. Yeah, so I'll step out just for that, but just for everybody to know.
Yeah, I'm here if you guys have any questions. Pretty cool. I do have, let me see, is anybody asking? Hi everyone. I'm on Cyber as well, and here on my on my computer. Oh, sure. So I went to Art Basel, and I was able to join Y3K Summit, and Cool Cats was there, and a few other amazing communities. And we actually went to in Miami and spoke to elementary students who are part of a program, and it was anti-suicide, anti-like bully discussion, and it was amazing. These kids, you know, we just never know, like the impact that we have over children, and just young, I would say ages 12, maybe 11, 12, 13, and they were able to open up about the things that they're going through, mental health, and it's incredible. And we basically there was a lot of artists there, and we spoke to them about using art as an outlet, right? When we are trying to let those emotions out, how we can use art and music. And it was a beautiful thing. I do want to say that we're going to do it again during NFT NYC in New York. It's actually going to be in Harlem Children's Museum, and we're going to be having some activation, showing them about Web3 and blockchain. I'm going to do some AI workshops with the kids, so I'm super looking forward to doing that. And then here, how do you see AI and fashion shifting in the future? I mean, it's already happening, and it's pretty insane. I think what's pretty cool is that maybe because I feel like I'm in both industries at the moment, I can see fashion actually being one of the ways where Web3 and blockchain become mainstream, because it's already happening. For some reason, AI tech is just like a smoother window into Web3. Like it becomes a little bit more like understandable why we would use this type of system or ecosystem to record information, especially in fashion. So one of the main examples that I'm seeing right now is Norma Kamali. She's an amazing American fashion designer, and she has trained AI to be her assistant to record her fashion designs throughout her 50-year career as a designer. So it's on a database, and instead of it being in a museum somewhere, it is in the blockchain and with AI, and it's pretty cool to see companies do that. I'm seeing a lot of editorial campaigns where it's all with AI. Digital Fashion Week now is becoming align with like New York Fashion Week and Paris Fashion Week and Fashion Week in general, where there's an infusion of AR, VR, AI fashion. Steph Young, I don't want to mess up her name, but she's doing a crossover between physical and digital. Let's say the model is walking down, the runway, and you hover your phone and you can see the actual digital wearable on the model through your phone, through your glasses, if you own the Ray-Bans, or I'm sure Provision too, you're going to be able to see the show. And there's not actual real clothes on the model yet. So there's definitely already a huge movement. And then I see, oh, yes, Gabe. I had a collaboration with my son Luther and Tezos. So my son has a NFT. I think we sold out already. We did 4 pieces. Whoever's been here for like 2 years or a little bit longer know that last year we were living on Twitter. I mean, I still am living on Twitter, but it was just a spaces. Like we were in spaces 24/7. My son was home with me. So I didn't want it to be where mommy is starting a new job and you're not involved. So I allowed him to like listen into safe spaces with me. He knows what NFTs are. And I said, would you want to create a collection together? And all the money goes to his fund. And these are actually his pieces of work back here. If you guys can see it. I don't know if you can. Oh, you can. He's an amazing artist. So I'm like, we could collaborate together. And he lent me all his beautiful abstracts and we added fashion gals to them. And it's really fun. I had to tell my husband to take him out because he would be here with me doing this live as a little future artist that he is. Let me look over here. Do you have any idea on how to represent Dominicans? I think if you're a Dominican, you're the representation. Like it's showing up, talking about your culture, not being obviously no one being Dominican. Like we have so much pride over our culture. It's showing up and showing your unique story. Even I had a collaboration with Coffee Coin. If you guys have seen Coffee Coin, if you can apply, I encourage all artists to look into it. But we created a coffee bean together, and they put my art on the packaging, and then you buy the coffee, you get an NFT. And because coffee, if you're Dominican or Latino, is so important to us. Like I need coffee. I injected my story with my grandmother, my Dominican grandmother, and how one of my core memories with her is drinking coffee with her in Dominican Republic and then drinking coffee with her here. And, you know, how I started drinking coffee when I was 7, because that's how Dominicans are. And I know my friends here can not leave me hanging. We're not lying. We drink coffee since, it's like a little bit of coffee and a lot of milk when you're young. But yeah, injecting these stories that are like, part of our upbringing, and adding them to, it doesn't need to be like a bold Dominican flag, but in your storytelling, there's going to be things that because of your upbringing is just going to seep through. So finding out ways to, I just found that coffee project was such a beautiful way for me to talk about my grandmother and celebrate that legacy and what she passed down to me. And then my other grandmother was a fashion designer, so I'm always bringing her up. That my mom always says that it skipped a gene, because my mom is not like creative, but that I got the gene of I don't know, gene of fashion or like creativity. So always honoring them in interviews, or if you want to actually create a series. That's how I started. I created a series with Afro Dominican women, and talking about colorism and the history of colorism in DR. And it just kind of kept going and shifting. Um, um, how do I envision AI fashion in relation to fast fashion and climate issue? That's a great idea. So because I have a background professional in fashion, and I work for so many different. I work for fast fashion, mass fashion, high end. Something that happens a lot is wastage, fabric wastage. It is horrible. And one of the ways that I see AI fashion and 3D fashion changing that is by shortening the sample supply lifespan. So basically, when you design something, you need a sample, and the sample is in the fabric. And then you put that sample on the model. Oh, I need to make changes to it. So you request another sample. And then that sample is fit one. And then you fit that. Oh, it doesn't work. Oh, we're going to need another fit. And it's just like because I work from home, I have bins of fit samples that I don't know what to do with them. And it's so much waste because they're not perfect. And they're just adding to the landfill. And one of the ways I see AI fashion helping, I already see it. I mean, even with clients, is that AI fashion is so accurate to how it will look like without you having to make a sample, that the buyers can actually buy straight from that AI fashion, sketch. Also, because of 3D, you can fit your using AI. You can actually put the measurements of the fit model on the computer, so that when you create a fit sample, it probably is perfect, and you don't have to keep refitting. So I think from a landfill um, part of it, I see that being a solution where there's less fabric wastage. Because I've traveled, and unfortunately, there's just so much warehouses overseas that are just unfortunately full of fabric that are too old to sell, too old to use up. Yeah. So um, I think I skipped a few questions. Hold on a second. I'm trying to do both over here. Um, So for my fashion, oh my God, there's so many questions. Sorry, guys. I use Midjourney and Runway. There's actually a few new apps that are coming out, like Refabric is a AI fashion tool that's solely for fashion. Where Midjourney, you can use it for like so many crazy things that you create anything. So I've been reached out by a few newer that are really focusing on fashion design. So where the fabrications, you can be more specific with them. But so far it's Runway for my videos and my model training, Midjourney, and also I just started Comfy UI and Stable Diffusion. Um, I also love illustrating by hand using Procreate, and then I actually feed that into um, I style reference that into Midjourney. So it's pretty cool that I can still sketch. I love sketching by hand, so it's pretty cool that I get to do that too. So yeah, so I wanted to say a few things that I get like frequently asked questions. Is how to get started, or how to get your art featured or get collaborations. Um, and I'm going to share from my personal experience, and it's going to probably sound so like, oh duh, but it's true. Like, I think sometimes as artists we get too shy or too nervous to share our work, or to share our work in progress, or to share our concepts that we have, either because we think, oh, it's not ready yet, it's not perfect, so I'm not going to share that right now until it's perfect. I say share your process, share excuse me, where you are as an artist. Oh, I'm choking, I need water. I'm okay. Like, share everything. Don't be don't wait for that perfect thing to share, because people enjoy seeing your process. And a lot of my partnerships, or when I apply to like open calls, especially through Hugs, which I think everybody knows now is killing it with crazy open calls. I've gotten so many opportunities because of that. Okay, excuse me. I'm gonna go get water. Stay right there. Talk amongst yourselves. I'm back. Cut and action. So share your imperfections. Share your your whips. Share like, hey, this is what I'm working on. Don't be afraid. Like, no one's gonna take your idea. Hopefully that. Also share like how you're doing it. I believe that the more we share like our resources, I believe in energy, so I believe that comes back to us. And having like an abundant mindset and not scarcity. Like, if I share this, then it won't be enough for me. No, there's so much. There's so much, so many things, and no one can do it like how you can do it. No one can replicate your voice, your DNA, your your uniqueness. And that's the whole point of like the art of self-embrace. And I would say share. I do share like on Instagram. I don't stay stuck on just sharing on X. I tweak my work so that it applies to Instagram. I even do TikTok. I also share things that I like, that I'm having fun with. Apply to open calls, the ones that align with your work. But also, I've done open calls that that align with like an idea I had, and the open call kind of incentive, like it encourages me, like it pushes me, like, oh, now I have a reason to keep going with this idea. And most of the time those are the ones that get picked. The L'Oreal was like abstract that I was playing around with already. I had created a video for it, and I was like, oh cool, abstract, I have this here. And I decided to show it for that open call, and I got it. So meaning like, don't put yourself in a box. Keep experimenting, keep having fun. And with Web3, something that I wanted to say is that we're all artists. And sometimes we say, oh, I'm a web artist in Web3, but we're artists without, we don't need to hold on to Web3, or I'm an artist on Instagram. Or, no, we're artists, and opportunities are going to come and align because of that, and not necessarily just because we're in Web3. And yeah, look for different ways to share your art, even if it's selling it on Society6. Again, like I said, on social media, and have your lifestyle kind of reflect who you are, and try not to box yourself in.